The following broadcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While Kirk Shepard is a therapist, he's probably not your therapist, so this production should not be considered a replacement for therapy. If you are in need of professional counseling, please use a resource like psychologytoday.com, your primary care physician, or one of the many online therapy services available. If you are in crisis or having a psychological emergency, please seek assistance from your closest emergency room. And now, happy Monday!
Happy Monday, everybody! Welcome back to the show. Thanks for being patient last week as we were in New York City. My name, of course, is Kirk Shepard. I am your host for Happy Monday, where we focus on three things: gratitude, affirmation, and productivity. And I'm so glad that you're here to start the week off right every Monday morning at 9:30. And of course, if you're listening to it at another time, thanks for that as well. But you can always join the live stream. If you are watching live, like my friend Rachel here, make sure that you say hello. Good morning, good morning. Check out Rachel's live streams on Twitch if you're into that sort of thing. Animal Crossing and other gameplay over there. Always a positive, inclusive space for all. I am back from New York City. It was an amazing trip. We'll talk about that a little bit this morning, probably as we get to the gratitude area, because there's so much to be grateful for and so much to be thankful for. But this week's theme, we're going to try to do a theme every week, if I can. This week's theme is about decluttering your life. So if you read the blog that posts at 8:30 over at kirkshepard.com, the Substack there, you can know that we're going to talk about decluttering our lives in three sections. We're going to get to that and with some practical tips today. We're also going to talk to my friend Connie about the process that she's gone through with decluttering her life. But how are you? Hi. Good morning. What's been going on with you? Anything exciting in your life? Anything we should catch up on? I'm going to check out and make sure that all these streams are working. Looks like we are live over here. I like to keep the Facebook one up because I can't always see your comments from Facebook on the stream here. So, okay. You know what we do every week? We talk about gratitude, affirmation, and productivity. We also talk about self-care. And so this morning, I want to use our book, our resource that we've been using, Dr. Zoe Shaw's A Year of Self-Care, Daily Practices and Inspiration for Caring for Yourself. And what she does is she takes every day and adds a new self-care strategy or an inspiring quote to the day. And we're going to pull it from the day of the broadcast. So today's quote is, "The first step in crafting a life you want is to get rid of everything you don't." The first step in crafting a life you want is to get rid of everything that you don't. So, I take that as a good starting place when we talk about decluttering our lives. So, I was able to talk to my friend Connie, who, if you don't know, she and I have a podcast we do that drops on Fridays called Kirk and Connie's Epic Adventures, a travel podcast where we talk about all things adventures of Cincinnati and beyond. And we're planning a trip to Disneyland for her birthday in March, which will be an exciting adventure. But we do that on Fridays. But we were able to talk over the phone about decluttering as she's going through a decluttering process in her retirement. So let's bring you that interview right now. I'm talking to my friend Connie, who is right now a decluttering expert. As you were going through all of the things in your house, post-retirement, what prompted you to start to do a massive declutter?
Couple things. First was I retired at the end of February, and I was like, well, the weather's not great to go outside, so what can I be doing until the weather gets better? And I have a lot of stuff in my house. So I thought, well, let's start decluttering. And the other motivation was not that I intend to sell my house in the near future, but someday I'm going to want to be in a smaller place that's more conducive to not so many stairs that I have right now. And I just have so much crap. And why not get rid of it slowly and with thought instead of panicking at the last minute? So those were sort of the two things.
Have you had a method or a methodology that you've used to sort of go through this process?
Sort of. It wouldn't be something that I would, be getting a best-selling book contract about, but I started in the bedroom that I call my office because I can't find anything in it. It's sort of the office/Star Wars room, and there was so much stuff in it that I thought I want to be more organized about paperwork, and, there's a lot of switching of things when you're retiring, so I want easy access to important papers like Social Security and Medicare, and the way the office was not conducive to that. So that's where I started. And then I went into the guest bedroom and tried to declutter that because I'm hoping that my brother will come visit, and that room is a little more crazy than I would like for somebody staying there for a few days. The big one was the basement, and while it's much less cluttered than it used to be, there's still a lot to go through, but it is way more organized. And that's one of the things I found the most complicated. You have to have a method to your madness. If you just start randomly decluttering things, then all you're doing is moving clutter from one place to the other. Right. So I had to really have a battle plan, and that took a little bit of time.
Has it been hard to let go of things at all?
Some things definitely yes. There's probably some Star Wars stuff that I should give away to my friend's little boy, and I'm still kind of hanging on to those. I thought it was going to be harder to get rid of almost everything graduate school related, and it wasn't. It was like, I'm retired. Why do I need this crap?
Yeah.
So the other thing that you and I have talked about before is I have a lot of stuff in my house from closing down my parents' house and closing down my aunt's house. And honestly, getting rid of their stuff has been harder than getting rid of my stuff, because some of it is, very sentimental family stuff. But at some point, I start asking the generation below me, my nieces and nephews, hey, I've got this stuff. I can pack it up for you. Are you interested in it? And the answer is almost always no. Because that's like, why would I want all that stuff that was Grandma and Grandpa's? So that's been a little bit more complicated than I expected. But it's all right. It is what it is.
Have you found any hidden treasures, things that you forgot you had, things that you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot about this?
Pictures of trips.
Okay.
Because I used to take a lot of pictures back in the film days, and I had over 60 photo albums full of pictures from different trips. And I am down to about 14 photo albums and that's where that became ruthless. I have 80,000 pictures of mountains. I don't even know what mountains they are, some of them. Why? Mm-hmm. I kept the pictures of people. The scenery, for the most part, went away. And I just kept telling myself, it doesn't matter. I threw away the negatives, everything. What am I going to do with this stuff? But I found some pictures from different things. Like I finally found the pictures from me when I worked at Kings Island the first summer they were open.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fun. I found a few pieces of jewelry that were my mom and my aunt's, not expensive jewelry by any means, but just fun things. That's been kind of fun.
Nice. Yeah.
Found,
well,
some of my dad's military stuff that I forgot I had.
Will you digitize some of the photos that you found and put them in the cloud?
Yeah, sure I will.
Perhaps we can make that part of our technology week. It's only it's becoming. We're going to have a technology day at some point.
I think it might be. I'll be happy if it doesn't turn into a technology month. Yes, because I know that that's possible, because I have all my childhood pictures because my brother did that, although they're on discs. But he has them in the cloud, of course, because he knows what he's doing on computers.
Yes.
So, yes, that will be a part of it for sure.
So this week's topic is really decluttering, not just physically, but we're also talking about decluttering mentally and spiritually. Right. So how does it feel to kind of have this space sort of more organized, to have things kind of in their proper place? What has that been like for you emotionally or just even cognitively?
Very helpful for many reasons, cognitively, emotionally, spiritually. I did not realize how much clutter weighed me down and made me anxious. And as things get less cluttered, as I can find that important Social Security paper that I couldn't find 5 minutes ago, I realized, okay, being organized is not just OCD. This is a thoughtful way to live. I feel more comfortable in my space. I obviously still have a lot of ways to go, but when you are organized, your brain isn't overwhelmed, so cognitively it's clearer, which was getting a little crazy as I was trying to find all these papers and all that stuff for retirement. Emotionally, I just feel less burdened. Like, I don't need all this stuff. I have wonderful memories. I don't need 8,000 books. They're starting to know my name and half-price books because I keep taking books there.
Sure.
And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I have that belonged to my aunt and to my parents, at some point in the near future, it's going to go away too. Because it is, half the time I don't even see it. I got 2 curio cabinets full of stuff. And it's stuff that maybe once in a while I'll walk in and look at. Like I have a place setting of my parents' wedding china. But, you know, what are you going to do with it? So it's very freeing, and I expected it would help, but I did not realize how much I would feel calmer and more comfortable in my own space and just more in touch with what's really important, which is sort of the spiritual side of it. You know, I've been doing much more stuff outside, gardening and my new bird watching stuff, and being out in nature reminds you that that's what's important, not things. So
I've always said that I would much rather spend money on experiences than things.
Absolutely.
And, we've got lots of that to do. If you are, of course, a fan of us, you know that we have a podcast called Kirk and Connie's Epic Adventures, a travel podcast. So make sure that you're listening to that every week as well, or as often as we drop them, because, you know, we talk about things like this over there too, but in a much more lighthearted way than we do maybe on Happy Monday.
Right.
I really appreciate you spending time with me talking about this, and keep at it.
Thanks, Connie, for joining me for that. If you want to be a guest, I'd love to talk with you further about anything really positive, affirmation, gratitude, or productivity related. info@happymondaywithkirkshepherd.com is the email address to reach out. Or if you know me on a different level, you can message me on any platform. And I'll get that message and we'll talk further about how we can get you on the air and discuss with you whatever is on your mind that you want to share with the folks who are listening and watching. So, Connie's decluttering her house physically. We're going to talk about some ways for you to do the same. In our habit hack section today, we're going to use, of course, James Clear's work. He is not the only habit guy out there, I realize, but he is my favorite, and he's the one that I'm using currently. We'll move on to some other theorists at some point, but I found this quote from him on his website where he says, agility is the elimination of physical clutter, clarity is the elimination of mental clutter, and tranquility is the elimination of spiritual clutter. We're going to dive into that
and look at those different areas of decluttering this morning and figure out how you can learn to declutter in all those ways. So let's start with the physical, okay? I think that there are 5 or so tricks and tips that might help you as you begin this process. It could be a very overwhelming process. I just spent the first the 15 minutes before I went on the air decluttering my desk a little bit because it was getting out of control again. Being out of town doesn't help. So one of the things that we talk about when it comes to decluttering is to start small. So I just picked the desk this morning and did that. It might be that you're going to pick a particular corner of your room or your shelf or a room. Don't feel like you have to declutter the entire house or the entire garage because that might be just too overwhelming to do. You want to also start to sort and categorize. You want to figure out what things go where. I also believe that if you're going to buy something new, you should always make sure that you have a place for it to live in your house before you even bring it home. Because if it doesn't have a home, it doesn't belong. So that's important to think about as well. But sorting and categorizing as you're decluttering makes the process more organized and streamlined. You want to have a system. Kind of goes hand in hand with the categorization and the sorting. Having a system is good. Connie talked about how if you don't have a plan, you're just moving things from one place to another. I am very guilty of taking things from this side of the desk, stacking them on this side of the desk, and nothing ever gets cleaned up. It just gets put in straighter lines. So clear the surfaces off completely. Wipe them down as well while you're at it. And you'll find that the decluttering is helpful when you have more clear space to work through. And then you want to maintain it regularly. So you need to have a system that allows you, like I said, to put things where they go. Everything in your home should have a home. It should have a place where it lives so that you don't get overwhelmed with the amount of clutter in your life. Because the clutter in your life starts to overtake your mental and spiritual well-being. Bobby Burke from Queer Eye talks a lot about how your home reflects your home, right? So the living space that you have kind of dictates how you feel about things. And so if you have a very messy home, you're going to have a very messy head. So you want to make sure you're doing this. So let's talk about mental decluttering now. How do you declutter mentally? What does that even mean? Well, I think it kind of speaks to identifying priorities in your life. If you feel like you are pulled in a dozen different directions at any given time, your life is full of too much mental clutter. And so nailing down what is important to you will help you then begin to set better boundaries and learn to say no to some things if it's too much. You also want to limit information overload. The social media is an amazing tool. However, if you scroll on Twitter for very long, you're going to get depressed. There is so much infighting and negativity and awfulness, especially on Twitter, of all the social media feeds. But TikTok as well, Instagram even. You need to be careful. And Facebook, you need to be careful how you spend your time with social media or even just watching the news. If you're inundating yourself with information, you are not helping your mind stay decluttered. I think one of the other great things about mental decluttering is that if you learn to practice gratitude, it helps keep you focused on the things that are important. We, of course, focus on gratitude here on the broadcast, and we're going to do that in a minute. What I always do every Monday is talk about what I'm grateful for. And that's an important part of mental decluttering, as is decluttering your schedule. There's nothing more exciting to me than having something coming up to do. Okay, so I am thrilled that I have Cedar Point in 60 days, a trip to Cedar Point. I'm excited about that. But as I get older, I'm even more thrilled when I look at my calendar and see that there's nothing on it for the day. And I have the whole day to myself to just be. That's an important thing as well when it comes to decluttering mentally. Finally, you got to practice self-care. You know I harp about self-care all the time. In fact, there's 5 self-care must-dos. I'll run through them real quickly for you again in case you've forgotten. They are sleep, body fuel, movement, sunlight, and interpersonal connection. If you focus on those 5 things, you will feel better and your mind will feel more at ease. Now, that's physical decluttering and mental decluttering. What about spiritual decluttering? What does that even mean? Well, I think that it's important to assess your beliefs. Excuse me. I am currently going through a process where I am deconstructing my faith, trying to understand what I actually believe, why I believe it, and how I got here. I'm doing a lot of writing, doing a lot of reading, and just trying to better understand my spiritual belief system and what it means for me as I live day to day. This water bottle, by the way, is very fancy. It measures your water intake to Bluetooth and sends it to your phone. If you want one of these, you can go to kirkshepherd.com, and it's there. You can use the Amazon link, and I get a couple bucks if you buy it through me. Greatest thing I've bought in a long time, and I'm really trying to do better with it. I'm also, by the way, today off of pop. I have 15 cans, 16 cans, something like that, of soda, the baby ones in the fridge as for emergencies only. And otherwise, we're back to water full time, trying to get myself back into a healthier space. Okay, spiritually, we're going to assess our beliefs. And then we want to simplify your spiritual practices. Do you even have any? Do you have too many of them? How much time are you spending doing things you think are spiritual versus actually spending time at one with yourself and with God or whatever you believe to be out there? You want to let go of some attachments. Next week, we're going to spend a lot of time on talking about letting go of toxic people and decluttering people from our lives. That's going to be the focus, I think, of next week's broadcast. So we'll talk more about attachments then. But I think it's important when you're decluttering spiritually to also have a sacred space. I try very hard when I go to therapy, for instance. I have an online therapist as part of my package, a deal that I have with BetterHelp as a provider there. And I never ever do therapy in this chair. This is where I do work. This is where I broadcast from. And this is where I also do therapy as a provider. I don't sit here when it comes time for me to be the patient because it's important that I have a safe or sacred space to do that. I also don't spend my focus sessions, which is what I call kind of meditation, mindful things that I do. I don't do that in this chair either because I need a sacred space to do that. Practicing mindfulness and meditation is an important part of spiritual decluttering. You want to do that on a regular basis and have some sort of a practice that you do regularly about that. And then finally, we need to release emotional baggage spiritually. That could be forgiving folks. That could be letting things go. In the words of the great philosopher, also the Ice Queen, sometimes you just got to let it go. So those are some ways to spiritually declutter. Now, it probably would be helpful as you're working through the mental and emotional decluttering to utilize support systems, whether that's a professional therapist, whether that's a good friend, but you can't do this stuff alone, nor should you. No, nor do you have to. So when it comes to decluttering, it's a team sport. Okay? All right. Excuse me. I found some interesting things this week in our good news segment. Where's my good news button? There it is. In our good news segment, I thought this was fun. Some folks who were decluttering found some valuable items I wanted to share with you. Just a couple of these. A man found an old Nintendo video game in the attic of his childhood home and sold it for $9,000. When Scott Amos was cleaning out his childhood home in Reno, he found an unopened Nintendo Kid Icarus video game in a shopping bag. The receipt in the bag said the game was bought for $38.45 from JCPenney. But Valerie McLecky, a video game consignment director at Heritage Auctions, told Time that it could be worth a lot more. She said to find a sealed copy in the wild, so to speak, not to mention one in such a nice condition and one with such transparent provenance, is both an unusual and rather historic occurrence. We feel the provenance will add a significant premium for serious collectors. I don't know what provenance means, but it sounds cool. The game sold online for $9,000. While Amos said he has no recollection of ever buying the game, he thinks it was supposed to be a Christmas present because of the December date on the receipt. He said he planned to split the money with his older sister and take the family on a trip to Disney World. Good idea. That's fun, huh? How about this one? A British family learned that a chess piece that sat in their home for years was actually worth $1.2 million. In 1831, a medieval chessboard with chess pieces made of walrus ivory was found on the Isle of Lewis. However, there were 5 pieces missing from the game. It wasn't until 200 years later that another piece was added. A family in Edinburgh brought it into Sotheby's in 2019. The grandfather of the anonymous family bought the piece 55 years ago. for $6 and passed it down to his family. Said family brought it to Sotheby's, where the staff instantly recognized it as one of the missing 12th early century chess pieces from Lewis, which are now on display at the British Museum and the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh. The piece is said to be worth $1.2 million, according to the BBC. I just think that's amazing and so cool. Is there another one I wanted to share? I don't know. There's so many cool ones here. Really fun stuff. You never know what you're going to find. That's enough. So you never know what you're going to find when you're decluttering. You don't know how much it's worth. So it might be worthwhile, even if you don't feel like doing it, to go through that stuff in the closet or the basement or the attic. And, you might be rich. Who knows? That's our good news of the week. So, one thing I love doing every week is mindfulness meditation. So I want to do that. So let's get yourself in the right space, in the right headspace to do that. Relax yourself. Take a minute to put yourself in a space where you can be calm, where you can breathe, where you're distraction-free. If you're driving, please don't do this. Close your eyes. Or not. If you're watching live or on video, you can breathe with the purple in and out and in and out. I want you to imagine your space. Wherever your space is, whatever that means, if that's your bedroom or if that's your desk, wherever you feel most productive. I want you to picture it as it is right now. Perhaps it's already decluttered, but if there's stuff on the desk, things everywhere, it's okay to picture that for a second. And then I want you to mentally begin to take all those items away. Put them in the garbage or in their proper place until there's nothing left on the desk. We're going to wipe down the desk with a cloth, and we're going to make your space clean and clutter-free. Now I want you to picture yourself doing that with your brain. All the stress and all the overwhelmingness that's in your brain today, we're going to take each item and we're going to put it in its proper place. That might be the garbage. That might be a filing cabinet. It might be a to-do later list that goes on a different desk. I want your brain to be clear. Take that same cloth and wipe down your brain until you feel mentally cleansed of all of the stuff that's been stressing you out. Keep breathing. Give yourself a moment or two. And when you're ready, open your eyes, come back to me, and let's wrap this up today. Hope that was helpful to you. I think that it's always good to have a clear and clean space. In fact, I just threw those papers on the desk over there behind me, and it's bothering me already. So I'm going to really focus on keeping my space organized and clean and clear of all the things that make me anxious. So much to be grateful for. I do want to thank everyone for being patient as we didn't have a show last week because I was in New York City. It was amazing. I had such a great time. I saw several great shows. You can read about those over at the Sappy Critic. I hung out with some friends. I had a fantastic hotel room that I somehow lucked into with a great deal in Expedia. It was truly a magnificent trip and a great time away. I got to watch all of the Queer Eye episodes that dropped as well while I was in the city. It was just really magical, and I can't wait to go back to New York. But I'm also grateful for the fact that I have a need to declutter, right? So the fact that I have so much space or so much stuff in my space that I need to have a decluttering process is really something to be grateful for, that I have stuff, and I'm thankful for that as well. I'm also thankful for you. I'm thankful for all the things I have to look forward to. I've got this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to go to Kings Island on Wednesday evening and walk with my friend Connie. We're going to get some steps in. We're going to talk and hopefully record a couple podcast episodes as well for our travel podcast. And then this weekend, the shows begin at Kings Island, and I'm always excited to see what they've cooked up for us this year. Then after that, Cincinnati Fringe Festival starts. CincyFringe.com if you're interested in that. That's June 2nd to the 17th. That will keep me very busy watching new works and just hanging out with theater friends in the city. And then, of course, I told you already, I have Cedar Point. 60 days till we go to Cedar Point for a long weekend, and that is really good. Rachel's grateful. Let's see what Rachel's grateful for. Awesome. Lots of things happening for you. Aw, so sorry about your cat, but really glad that you are getting to hang out with people that are important to you. That's important. What are you thankful for? Make sure you make a note of it this week, and you show that appreciation somehow, whatever that works for you. One last thing. This is a jam-packed episode, isn't it? Hey, I want you to know that no matter what stressful things you have on your plate this week, whatever is on your mind that's causing you to feel overwhelmed, it's going to be okay. Because you got this. You are capable, you are competent, and you are incredible. And so slowly unpack it, attack it, and take your time as you figure out how to navigate life this week as we start today out on this happy Monday with a lot of gratitude and affirmation and productivity. Okay? You got it? I hope so. I pushed the wrong button. I'll push the right button so we can get this show over with. It's always good to see you. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back next week talking about how to get toxic people out of our lives. I'll see you then.